you look?
Camera.
I can't.
What? What do you mean?
It's weird. Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right, ready? Today I'm here with my niece Destiny, and we are going to be showing you how to use Ikonart on canvas and talk about some tips and tricks for doing that. But before we get started, we need to make our Ikonart stencils. And Destiny is going to be the one showing us how to make the stencils today. She's never made an Ikonart stencil before, so let's see how she does. Are you ready to get started?
Yep.
All right, let's go. So the first step is to expose your stencil. You just lay your stencil film down with the texture side up, your artwork on top so you can read it, and rub it down so there's no gap between your artwork and your stencil film, and expose. Then you're ready to wash out. We like to soak our stencils for about a minute first to soften that coating. And after about a minute, you're ready to wash out. Destiny is using our Trigger Jet nozzle today. You can also just use a regular kitchen sprayer, but definitely use warm water. It makes the process go a lot faster. After that, you just hold it up to the light, making sure you got all your areas cleaned out, and then dab off the extra water and let it air dry, or today, Destiny's gonna speed up the process with our film dryer. Once the stencil is dry, just pop it back under the light for a couple minutes to increase the durability, and you're ready to start creating. All right, thanks for that tutorial, Destiny. What did you think about making your first stencils?
It was very easy and fun to do.
Okay, nice. They turned out great. We're using our purple stencil film today because it is a little stickier, so it works a little bit better on canvas. And I guess we're ready to get started. So Destiny has already prepped her canvas a little bit. She painted it with gesso paint. It's just a white gesso paint. And then she already has her mountain, so she's going to be doing trees over the top of her mountains and then also adding a quote. So canvas can be a little bit tricky because it is textured. So all canvases are different. You will be getting a different weave and different amounts of texture. So what you do will depend on your canvas. But here are just some tricks that we have learned along the way, and also some tips from people in our Ikonart Crafters group on Facebook that we have found worked really well on canvas. So the first thing is to definitely support your canvas. And you want to find something that will kind of fit inside so that when you're stenciling on top, your canvas isn't moving. We found this book that just fits perfectly in there, so Destiny has that underneath her canvas. And that's really going to help to support your canvas when you're stenciling. So that's tip number one, is to put support under your canvas. So again, like I said, Destiny has already prepped her canvas by painting it. The top, she just painted white. That's where she's gonna put her quote. And then she has these nice trees on the bottom. So she did fill it kind of with the paint, so that has already filled in some of the crevices, but we're still gonna set ourselves up for success by thickening our paint. So the most important thing when stenciling really on any surface to remember is the thinner the paint, the more likely you are to get bleed. So we're gonna be thickening up our paint a little bit today with Coco's chalky powder. This is amazing. You can basically make chalk paint or chalk paste out of any color you want. We're just doing simple black today. We're gonna be doing the trees in black, and also is the quote gonna be in black too?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, so both in black. All right, so then we're just gonna mix up some chalk powder. So to make your own chalk paste is super easy. All you're doing is thickening up your paint with a powder. We love Coco's chalky powder because it's so smooth and just mixes up really well, and I just love it. And I usually mix mine in about a 1-to-1 ratio, but it really is going to just be your preference. So I am just going to put my paint in here. And since I'm making black, I'm making quite a bit because I'll use this, but if you're just, making a special color for one project, you can make as much or little chalk paste as you want. That way you don't have to have jars and jars of chalk paste sitting around, so I love that. So let's add in the powder. Let's add quite a bit there. Let's do another spoonful, yep. And then you can just mix it up. So stir it up. So I like to just stir it until it reaches that nice creamy consistency, and it'll develop right away. It'll show you its consistency right away. You don't have to let it sit, for any amount of time. So Again, that's Coco's that we're using, and we're just thickening up our paint. And what that does is just make your stenciling life so much easier because you're not gonna have that thin paint seeping in all the little cracks of your canvas. So this is great to do on top of painted canvas. It's also great if you just have a raw canvas. Definitely thicken up your paint if you're not gonna prep your surface at all, but we do recommend prepping in some fashion. For my canvas, I actually sanded mine down with 220 grit sandpaper, and that really takes a lot of the texture off of the canvas as well. So I would recommend that too, to sand it and start off with a nice smooth surface. All right, so once you have that chalk paste, again, it's gonna be the thickness that you want. So hopefully you can see this, but it's like not just falling off of the spatula, it's, you know, a nice, beautiful consistency. All right, so I am also going to be using that black chalk paste on my sign. So all I did again was sand it. Destiny painted hers. She did not sand it all, she just prepped it with paint. And then it doesn't have too much texture on it. Of course, she has a couple beautiful color like layers in there on the mountains. But there's not a ton of texture, but there is a little texture because she didn't sand it. So that's again where the chalk paste is really going to come in handy. So Destiny is going to add those trees over the top of the mountains. And I am going to just be adding mine right on top of my white canvas. Another thing I have seen people do in our group is seal their canvas first, either with a clear sealer or some Mod Podge. And in that case, you're gonna be putting on an actual clear coat, which is kind of nice because then if you screw up with your stencil for some reason, you can just wipe the paint or paste right off and start over. So that's kind of the benefit of adding a clear coat on top. And it's also gonna seal in all those crevices, kind of the same as paint, so that you're starting with a nice smooth surface. You can always put these coatings on and then do a sanding on top of that as well. So let's see here, Destiny has her trees added. So we'll just add our chalk paste and go ahead and stencil it across. So chalk paste does dry faster than regular paint. The powder in there causes it to dry faster. So you do want to work somewhat quicker. You don't want to just let it sit on there for minutes. You want to get the paint on there, stencil it across, and then remove your stencil as soon as possible. So add a little bit more paint, add a little more than you would think, I would say. So really get on there so you can really smooth it across and you're not having to push down too hard. Because if you push down too hard, that's again when you're more likely to get bleed. So add a little bit more paint or paste than you think you need. It's easier to scrape it off and put it back in the jar than to not have enough on there. So yeah, that looks great. You can also do the peel and the lift and look or peel and peek or whatever you want to call it method with chalk paste, where if you have a bigger design, you can stencil some of it, lift that part up, and then keep going so that you're not, like the paste isn't drying in your stencil. So now that this part of these trees are done, we can actually lift that up right away. Oh, and you can actually see that you need a little bit more, so that's good to know too. So we'll just put a little bit more in those spots. Again, because of the texture of canvas, it's trickier than just stenciling on a flat surface. You really need to work with it and find your right sweet spot and your right technique. But doing that lift and look method really can help so that you know where you need more paint or where you need more ink. That one's yeah, that's looking really good. So having that powder mixed in with your paint is really what's going to give you those crisp edges. These trees are super detailed. There's a lot of fine lines. There's a lot going on with them, and having that paste is what's really going to make it possible to hold all of those details so that your ink or your paint isn't all bleeding into each other and causing kind of just a big blob on your canvas. So you want to remove it slowly so that if you do want to put it back down, you can. But as you can see, look at those trees. It's like it didn't really seep into the canvas at all. It looks beautiful. And it stayed really nice and crisp. That looks so good. Oh yeah. Yeah, that looks good.
Try to get this stencil
wash it out. That looks awesome. Do you like it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks really good. All right, so now that you have the trees on, you're ready to add your quote. And this is going to be the same exact technique. So of course my second camera died while I was trying to film the reveals of our signs, which is super frustrating because it's the best part. So here are just a couple close-up photos showing both of the signs and how well it held the details. So I love how both of these turned out. What do you think, Destiny?
I like them.
Yeah, they look great. I wanted to also quickly show you a little demo of what it looks like if you don't prep your canvas and if you don't use chalk paste. So I have just a raw canvas here. This was a pack of small canvases that I got on Amazon. I'll have these linked on our Amazon recommendations page. And I just wanted to quickly show you, if you just use straight acrylic paint, this is just Anita's acrylic paint, and I didn't do a single thing to this canvas. It's like, if I feel it, it's very rough and textured. But if I just put a stencil on here and just use acrylic paint, without doing a single thing, I'm not using chalk powder or paste, and I'm not prepping my canvas at all. And especially depending on your pressure, if you end up like pushing too hard and you're really pushing that, you know, paint into the canvas to get bleed, where, I mean, it just ends up looking like a huge blob. So compared to, so you can see that all the details in the center of the sunflower completely disappeared. I mean, you can see all that bleed, it looks terrible. Compared to Destiny's over here, the tree held all those beautiful details. The letters look great. I mean, it's a really big difference if you just take a little bit of time to prep your canvas, and also, of course, use chalky powder. My name is Fawn, and I share tips and tricks on how to make and use Ikonart stencils. If you like this video but you want to see the stencil making process in more detail, make sure to check out this video right here. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get notified every time we upload.